Words have power. And so what if there were phrases that you could use in a relationship that helped unlock people's hearts, helped build stronger connection in those relationships? Well, it turns out that there actually are. And so today we're going to unpack 5 phrases that help unlock your man's heart and help create more connection. And the first phrase that we're going to explore and talk about is this phrase called, "Tell me more about that." Tell me more about that. Here's why this is so powerful. In a conversation, a very common experience for people to have is to be engaging in a conversation with somebody who's not fully listening, but really what they're doing is they're simply waiting to talk. And how do you know? It's because you'll tell them about something that happened to you, and immediately their response isn't, "Oh, wow, tell me more about that." Their response is, "Let me tell you about a time in my life when I did that." Like you're talking about the great trip that you just went snowboarding on, or you went to Mexico, or you traveled, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I was in Mexico too. Let me tell you about my experience." Now, that's not bad per se, but what it doesn't do is it doesn't take the connection deeper. When someone's really listening, right? It's encouraging someone to share more about their feelings without feeling rushed or dismissed. Like, you will be amazed at how much we don't unpack or uncover when we just jump to our side of the story and helping them understand us. But when they're sharing something and we're saying, "Oh, tell me more about that," it's this invitation to go deeper, and you're pulling back the layers of the onion, so to speak, to really discover who this person is with you. It also helps them feel valued. It helps them feel seen. For example, when your partner says, "I've had a really frustrating day at work today," instead of saying, "Me too, let me tell you about my day," what you want to say is, "That sucks. Tell me more about that. What happened today?" We actually know that when we feel heard, when we feel cared about, when we feel understood, our brains actually release oxytocin, helping us bond to the person that we're talking to in that moment, creating this sense of closeness and trust. Remember, connection deepens where curiosity lives. So the more space that we give someone to express themselves, the more they feel seen, the more they feel loved. Now, the second phrase that cultivates this connection, unlocks hearts, is this phrase, "That makes so much sense." What is that phrase doing? That phrase is actually validating their feelings and validating their experience. And so it helps them feel less alone. It helps them feel like their emotions are understood. It creates a safe space for them to have deeper conversations because you're letting them know, yeah, like, I understand what it is that you're going through. So for example, if there's a friend of yours sharing a tough situation about someone they're in relationship and they're saying like, I feel like I'm always the one reaching out. They're never following up with me. They're never reaching out. Instead of dismissing it and saying, "Well, you should look on the bright side. At least you talked to each other, like once last month." Instead, say, "That makes so much sense. It would be exhausting to be the one that's always reaching out, feeling like you're the only one putting in effort." Validation is one of the strongest tools for emotional intimacy. When someone feels really understood, they naturally trust the other person. They naturally open up more. I love this idea that love grows in the soil of understanding. So the more that we acknowledge one another's experience, the more love takes root and grows and flourishes. Let's talk about the third. The third phrase that helps us unlock hearts and create deeper connection is this one. "I really appreciate that about you." Why does this work so much? It shifts the focus from what somebody is doing to actually who they are. It fosters gratitude, makes a positive reinforcement in that relationship. It builds emotional safety. It deepens trust. And you'll be amazed at how rare it is for someone to get an authentic demonstration of appreciation. So often people are raised in households where they don't appreciate one another. They don't verbalize how deeply they care about one another. So for example, let's say your partner plans a thoughtful date and they say, "Hey, I planned something special for us tonight." Instead of just saying, "Oh, thanks, that was really nice of you," you can say, "Hey, you know what? I really appreciate how much thought you put in to making special nights for us." My wife actually had an interaction with a friend recently where my wife she's so good at voicing how much she appreciates people and how valuable they are to her, those relationships. And as she's sharing this, like, her friend starts to tear up and she was like, "Wow, like, I've never had anyone say that to me before. In my family, we just kind of like give each other elbow bumps and we're like, 'Hey, I love you, right?' And they keep it real light. And so it's really a beautiful opportunity to help people feel the love that you have for them on a deeper level. And I love this idea that what you appreciate appreciates. And so the more you acknowledge the good in somebody else, the more that connection grows with them. So let's explore this next phrase that helps us unlock hearts, feel even more connected. And it's this one. I never thought of it that way. Thank you for sharing. Now, what's interesting about this particular phrase is it shows influence that the other person has over you. It helps the other person feel respected. It helps them feel valued, even if you don't agree, and opens the door for meaningful discussion without defensiveness. It fosters that intellectual and emotional intimacy. In fact, the Gottman Institute did a ton of research and found that healthy, long-lasting relationships were ones where they allowed each other to influence each other. You didn't always have to start out on the same page. So they allowed, oh wow, differing of opinions. I'm willing to consider that idea. Let's say you're with a coworker and they suggest a different way to approach a project. Right? They say something like, well, what if we tried this method instead? Instead of dismissing it and saying, well, I've done this before in my way, I really know how to do this, let yourself lean in. If you know it's going to work out anyway, it's just a different route to get there, you can say, well, I've actually never thought of it that way. Thank you for sharing. This is an interesting way of doing it. When people feel that their perspective is valued, they engage more deeply. They become more invested in the conversation. And the moment we honor somebody else's different perspective, we're actually creating a deeper connection. This next phrase I love for creating connection, and it's this one. I love doing life with you. Now, the reason this works is it goes beyond love because it expresses partnership. We're doing life together, right? It expresses joy. It expresses companionship. It reinforces the sense of team with each other, this unity in your relationship. And it reminds the other person that they are cherished for who they are, not just for what they do. I love doing life with you. In other words, like there's something special about you that makes life awesome. So for example, let's say you're spending time with a close friend or your partner, you're having this great time. Instead of just smiling and saying, oh, this is a really great moment, turn to them and saying, I love doing life with you, right? Every moment with you is so special. Ooh, that's going to go right to the center of their heart, help them feel valued and loved and appreciated. And there's other variations of this that you might bring in. Maybe for a friend, you say, I want you to know how much I value our connection. Or for your partner, you say, I care so much about you. I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for our relationship. And what this does is it helps the two of you feel like a team. It helps strengthen that emotional bond and your long-term connection. Giving love isn't always about these huge, grand expressions, right? Almost the things that are the most meaningful are almost these small moments that you take to a very deep place. And these phrases are a great way to do that. So let's recap them real quick. The first one is, tell me more, right? Shows deep listening. The second one is, that makes so much sense. It validates their emotions. The third one is, I really appreciated that about you, right? It builds trust and appreciation. The fourth one is, I never thought of it that way. Thank you so much for sharing, right? It encourages meaningful conversation from different perspectives. And the fifth one is, I love doing life with you. Strengthens that partnership and love. So remember, words have power. The way you speak to someone has the ability to help open their heart or close it. And so choose words that create real beautiful connection in your life. My question for you is, what are the words that someone has either shared with you or that you share with somebody else that helps you feel really connected in the moment? I would love to hear your perspective on this. Go ahead and drop that in the comments below. Here's to you and your experience of expanding love and deep connection. I appreciate you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.